Elizabeth?
Yeah, you're right about that, Brian. Well, now this, up to 10 million families lost their homes to foreclosure during the housing crisis. But not only did it make the country poorer, it divided us, too, by slowing the decline in segregation between whites and blacks by 19% and between whites and Hispanics by 50%. Take a look at that. Here to react is Fox Business Network's Charles Payne. Okay, Charles, so this is an interesting way to look at why the decline in segregation was slowed.
Right.
It was on path to be a real remedy, and now the housing crisis sort of kicked it right back into reverse.
It kicked it back in reverse because you mentioned 10 million people lost their homes. That means they had to move. And so you're out of the house, you got to go somewhere. And during the economic turmoil, if you had lower incomes, you went to neighborhoods maybe that you had just recently escaped from. And it's, obviously it's part of this bigger, greater tragedy that people are still studying because the economic and social ramifications of this have left a bitterly divided nations where black people feel like they were duped, where a lot of white people who have been in their homes for years did the traditional things, put 20% down, paid their bills, felt like all the remedies from D.C. were focused not on them, but on people who put no money down. So what you have in the aftermath of this, what I think was a government-orchestrated plan to sort of do what the free markets typically do, is a bitterly divided nation with, by the way, a lot less faith in a housing market and more segregated than it was before. Sounds like a lose-lose-lose for everybody, particularly when you look at unemployment rates. And you look at the comparison here, and we hinted at it when it first began. You look at the national rate, 5.4% unemployment rate, compared to black Americans who are facing a 9.6% unemployment rate there. That's awful. That's awful, but and the irony is that that's improved a lot over the last few years. We could get into the nuances of participation, but just taking those at face value, you can see that there's a long way to go. Now, this last jobs report is a little problematic, though, for black people because we're moving into this knowledge-based economy, and even last month, the big job growth were in professional areas, business areas. Now, for laborers or lower skilled, but even craftsmen, construction was pretty good. But overall, that's where you're going to see the major job growth. So these kind of numbers are probably going to get worse, not better in the near term. And this is a reality. It has nothing to do necessarily with racism or anything like that, but we should see the reality and try to figure out ways to remedy it instead of trying to throw kerosene on a problem that's going to exist. Yeah, it certainly didn't make it better. And by these numbers, it looks like it made it a whole lot worse. Charles Payne. It did.
Thanks for your evaluation here. Always. Don't miss Charles on the Fox Business Network. We don't. To find it in your area, go to foxbusiness.com/channel finder. See you next time, Charles.
Thanks.